Hi, I'm Dirt Farmer Jay. Today we're going to talk about how to prune a landscaping shrub around your home, bring it into productivity and keep it in good shape. Now, lots of times when you prune shrubs, you're going to create growth that may or may not be desired. In this particular case, this shrub last year was transplanted, and so it was pruned down. As you can see in the middle of the shrub, there's a low area that's cut. And it was done that way specifically so that when it was transplanted, there wasn't a lot of stress on the root system. It would transplant easy and would start to get root stock and that sort of thing, which it did. But then something else happens. As soon as you cut off all of the tips of growth on any kind of vegetation, such as a tree, a shrub, bush, these types of things, you're going to create growth off the side branches that are left behind. Now, if you look at these long shoots that grew up from last year, you can see at the top of each of these shoots right here, this is what's called the terminal bud. And it is the king of that whole stem going up and down. In other words, all of these other ones down below are subordinate to this bud. And it does that through a hormonal signal. It's telling the rest of it through a hormone that's coming back down the plant, I'm the guy on the top. I'm going to reach for the sky. All of you are going to branch to the side. If I take this and I clip off that right there, what's going to happen, all of these are going to start to branch out, just as you can see happen down here low last year. So what do? If you're trying to prune something else, and our preference around our household is to keep certain bushes in certain heights and sizes, this will get to be very columnar, it'll get very big, and it'll take over this whole corner. So to keep it sized correctly, if we simply whack it off again, either all the way down, we're just going to start the cycle again. By the way, this is 1 year's growth, okay? So you can see very quickly that by pruning it, you're going to get a lot of rapid growth. So if we just cut it down again, we're just going to start it over again. So suppose I came up here and I just whacked it off right through the middle here. Well, all of this branching that happened down here, and everywhere it was cut off below, I got at least 2 shoots. I just get a multiplier here. And then if I decided next year I was going to whack it off again, you'd have multipliers upon multipliers upon multipliers. And perhaps you've seen this if you've ever pruned a hedge, or early on the year or something, there was a disease in it and you lost a bunch of foliage. And what you saw in it was all the skeleton, so to speak, of the hedge, of larger branches at the bottom, multiples on multiples, and multiples upon multiples at the outside of the hedge. That was all because every time the terminal bud was cut off, these down here now compete to become the one that's reaching for the sky. So what to do? It's actually quite simple. You take a feathering or staggered approach in here. We don't whack off everything, but what we do is approximately a third are left very low down in the shrub, approximately a third are brought halfway up, and approximately a third are at the desired height. Once we trim those in those areas, then the bush will respond by filling in the middle. Everything will grow up and sprout up very nicely, and you'll get a really nice a nice form and a healthy bush that is trying, or shrub that will put out great growth. So just starting there, we're going to hit a couple of these, and then we're going to do a little time lapse, and you can come back at the end of the video and just see how everything looks when it's done. And then later on, we'll post up an update to this video that shows you the results of doing this. So first of all, we're going to go down low, and I'm going to take off some very low ones just to get rid of some of that right out. So just taking out maybe a third, maybe a fourth of just some of the bigger stuff that's down way down in the plant. Then I'm going to move up approximately a third, and I'm going to knock off as you can see, this moves pretty quickly. We're thinning out different areas here real quick. Again, this isn't science. You're not doing, I've got to precisely count all the branches and figure out exactly what 1/3, 1/3. These are rules of thumb. And then we're going to just move to the top and kind of move it like this. So the remaining are out. You can see this moves very quickly. And notice as I cut these at each place that I've cut right below, then they're going to branch out. So I'm going to get a real nice infill here with some nice density. A little bit of this might be pruned. I'm going to take it down there and then move back up to this area. You can see this moves very quickly here. This is a good time to remove diseased, or there's a dead branch right there. And you can see now we have a plant that is some that is very low in the shrub, some that is higher. As I'm looking at it now, as I've got a clear view on a couple things, I see here that there's some more opportunity. So in a later video, we'll post an update to this. So you can see the staggered look. You have the base unit down here, some that are about approximately 1/3, 2/3 up, and the tips. This will fill in very nicely, and that's how you keep it in form. Topping doesn't work. If you top everything, it'll be just like a tree that perhaps you've seen under a power line where the utility companies had to come in and top it off, and then everything's competing. Thin it all out. It'll fill in. Your plant will be healthier. You'll like the size of it. You'll like the look. And if it's a blooming plant, it'll bloom much more profusely. I'm Dirt Farmer Jay. Watch for our next video.